According to the prosecutor, that man, of course, is Alex Murdaugh. Evidence places him at the home. He lied to investigators. His financial misdeeds were about to catch up with him and encompass him entirely. He had access to all the guns, but will jurors see it the same way? Let's get right to it with my first guest, who has been at the trial since day one, joining us live from outside that South Carolina courthouse, host of Crime Stories on Fox Nation. Our nation's foremost court expert, Nancy Grace, joins me. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you for inviting me. Yes, we're here outside the Colleton County Courthouse, and it has certainly been a scene inside. I sat through all of the closing argument by the state, and he put the whammy on the defense. Now, when you did that intro, it certainly was, let me just say, euphemistic. You certainly put the perfume on the pig. Talk about a drug addiction. Try $50,000 a week. Nobody on that jury could even, or any of us could imagine that kind of money on opioid addiction. You mentioned stealing from his clients and his partners. Talk about nearly $9 million of theft. That boat crash, not an accident, was looming. There was a hearing that coming week, and all of Alex Murdaugh's finances would be laid bare with a forensic accountant. That's the last thing he wanted. There was an answer to two problems: a potential divorce by his wife, Maggie, and that boat lawsuit against him and his son. They both seemingly disappeared after the two were murdered.
And I think that, Nancy, you bring that up, and I think that that is the ultimate motive here, because he had reason to want to get rid of both of them. First of all, Paul was this massive liability. So maybe if his son is no longer in the picture, there's not only going to be sympathy, but it is also going to neutralize what happens at that trial for the boating incident. And number two, it was his dead wife's estate that paid off Mallory Beach's family. So Alex Murdaugh, according to the Netflix documentary and some of what we saw during this trial, had no problem ending the life.
Now, wait a minute. Please, Kennedy, don't get your facts from Netflix. No offense, but
well, there was stuff. Okay, but Nancy, but there was stuff that was not admissible in court. And, one of the things that we saw that was laid out pretty clearly in the Netflix series was he had no problem killing Gloria Satterfield, suing himself for that massive insurance policy that he had taken out. But he also had motive to kill his wife because he knew that with her out of the picture, he would have access to her estate and that money, which could, further fund his pill addiction and also pay off Mallory Beach's family.
Well, you know what's interesting? At the time the two were murdered there in the dog kennel, the son, Paul Murdaugh, had just discovered his father's pill stash and brought the attention to his mother, and they were watching him like a hawk. This guy was so high on opioids, he would do anything to keep it going. Those two were standing in the way. But I think the single most important evidence, of course, the state never has to prove motive, but practically speaking, the jury wants to know why.
Yes.
I think the single most important evidence is a video that was taken by Murdaugh's son, Paul. He took a video of a dog belonging to his friend to send to a lady vet. What Murdaugh didn't know is that Murdaugh's voice was caught at the tail end of that video. And he lied and he lied and he lied for over a year until he got on that jury stand and admitted that was him at the dog kennels. Basically, like Scott Peterson, placing himself at the scene of the crime at the time of the crime. Now, let me just ask you something, Kennedy. If the person you loved the most in the world was slain, riddled with bullets, the first thing I would tell police is the truth, because I would want to catch the killer. But the first thing he did was lie to 911 that he was not in the kennels at the critical moment of the murder, which leads me to my second point. Who, other than the killer, would know that critical 5-minute period that the murders went down? Other than the killer, no one.
No,
but
absolutely
Murdaugh
not. You would have
no
no idea what time they died if you came back after 10 o'clock at night and you found them. You would have no reason to withhold that information. That literally would be the last thing in your head. The first thing in your head would be, holy crap, who did this? Where are they? Are they still here? Am I in danger? Is my other son in danger? We have to catch them. And you did not get that sense of urgency at all whatsoever. Do you think that the state has done enough to convict him?
I absolutely think the state has done enough and more. And another thing, ask yourself, what man do you know that has several wardrobe changes throughout the day? He was wearing one thing before the murders, but then when the cops get there, he has on a new pristine outfit. He looks like he just had a shower. That stinks to high heaven. Do I think the state proved it? Yes, I do. Will the jury understand all this complicated evidence, cell phone data, GPS, the navigation system on the vehicle? Yes, I think once they go back there, they'll understand it. But there seems to be a little disagreement already amongst the jurors. A couple of them have been spotted arguing with each other. That's not a good sign.
No, that is, hopefully they're just arguing over lunch orders, but I don't think we can be that naive. Nancy, please come back when we get a verdict. I want to parse the rest of this with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. Good night.
Absolutely.